Hello and welcome back to another Helios Academy video. So this video is a guideline for the new 2026 to 2027 Digital Blue Book exam of the AP Chinese FRQ. So basically the College Board they changed how the FRQ is going to be from 2025 and older. So I'm going to be going over how the changes happen and like what's different. So let's get started. So here is how the exam's gonna be. So for the MCQ, there's gonna be 25 listening, 25%, and then 25% is reading. Okay, so you read a passage, and then there's 55 total MCQ questions. Okay, 65 minutes, and then for the story narration, it's only 7.5% of your grade. Four pictures, right? You write a story about it. The other 7.5% is your email response. You're going to be given both 15 minutes of this. So the score distribution of the exam is going to be 50% MCQ, 50% FRQ. Okay. And then what's different is there's no more cultural presentation. So back then there is a cultural presentation. You got to describe example 茶文化. You got to describe 三国演义. So there's no more of those. Okay. So what's different is now you have projects and a Q&A. So what's going to be happening for the project is you're going to be given a project like 3 months or 4 months in advance. You can prepare for as much as you want, and then you got to answer some questions in Q&A. You don't know what the questions is right after you present. So that's going to be 15% of your grade, and then there is 20% is your project presentation. Okay. So yeah, it's worth 35% of your grade, just the project presentation. This can make or kill your exam score. Yeah, so like I said, the cultural presentation it is replaced by the project presentation, and then the conversation where you have 5 turns. Somebody asks you a question, you gotta like talk back, and then you gotta record, and then you gotta do it for 5 terms. Now this is replaced by your project Q&A. Personally, I feel like this was a bit hard because like you had 20 seconds, and sometimes you just had a lot to talk about, and then you didn't. So I feel like this is gonna be easier. So yeah, this is still the same story narration, email response. Yeah, and then now it's fully blue book. Okay, and then the questions are reduced. It was 65 questions and 95 minutes for the MCQ. Now it's 55 questions, 65 minutes. Okay. All right, so the course project, okay, this covers 35% of your score, right? Because it covers both your speaking, like all of your speaking, it covers the cultural presentation and the conversation simulation, right? So what's gonna happen is, example, you have a art and theme, focus on music, okay? You're gonna find authentic Chinese language source. You can like prepare for a topic, and then you can build your project reference. They're due by April 30th. And then you submit it to the AP digital portfolio, kind of like how AP seminar works and AP like art studio. So yeah, your proctor prints it out for you on a reference exam day. Everybody gets their own, and then you prepare your presentation, deliver it, and then you have to answer 4 questions, random questions about it. They can ask you anything about your project, and you got to answer it. Yeah, so this is how it might look like. You introduce your topic, present your sources, say like where I got my sources from. You still have to analyze the cultural significance. You got to still say why this is significant. You can't just say, "Oh, this is good because it's good." You got to say like, "Oh, like 茶文化 is good because it connects older people, it benefits health," right? And then you got to tie it to a broader theme with your own perspective, just like always, and then you connect it to internationally. So this is an example of how it might look like for the 2026 to 2027. It's about folk music and social change in China. So you get your sources from here, right? And then you can connect this to Daigo and then 语言身份 like we learned in Unit 1 and we're about to learn in Unit 2. So this is how a model presentation is going to look like. So this is like a general structure. You can take a look at it. Yeah, so the project Q&A is going to be the hardest part of it if you don't prepare well. You got to know your topic, right? You can't just remember your script. You got to like, because this is unscripted, like I said here. So it tests whether you actually understand the topic and not just memorize line, right? So it might ask you, 你为什么选择音乐作为研究主题? Why did you choose this? 你的来源哪里？哪个对你影响最大? Like, why is your sources? And like, the hardest part is the last 2 questions. The last 2 questions. The last one's going to talk about 哦，它反映了什么中国社会, like how does it connect to China's society or China's culture? And then the last one connects to how it connects to you or internationally. So the last two is the hardest part. The first two is just you gotta know your topic. Yeah, so this is the story narration, like always, right? You have a four sequence with no captions. You gotta write a story. You gotta make sense. You gotta use the problem solving steps I provided earlier, right? You gotta have your time, date, who's doing it, the action to get full score, right? And then story narration is here's example. This is quite short, but you get the general gist of it. And then yeah, the email response is the same idea. You they provide you an email. You got a response with a greeting, with a middle, with an ending, and then you got to have a follow up question. Very important. I feel like people skip this part. You got to have a follow up question or an additional detail. You got to answer every question, right? So yeah, this is how email response model might look like. And then, yeah, the FRQs are scored. There's general rubrics. I can provide them in the link below, but yeah, the Q&A is basically they have specific rubrics for special quad topics, cultural knowledge, language use, talk, task completion, organization, comprehensibility. So yeah, here is your FRQ prep checklist. You want to choose your topic, right? You gotta find at least 3 authentic Chinese language sources. They gotta be good. You gotta draft your outline, submit your digital portfolio by April 30th. Practice your presentation out loud at least 5 times, like if not 10 times. You gotta make sure you know how to present it without stuttering and stuff. So you gotta practice yourself doing it, time yourself, and then you should be good. So yeah, this is the overall how the new Chinese AP Chinese 2026 to 2027 course is going to look like in the FRQ. So yeah, the only main difference is the cultural presentation and the speaking conversation is replaced by the project where you got to prepare your project, which I feel like is much easier than the cultural presentation where you got to come up with it on the dot, which is way harder I feel like than preparing it. And then you got to answer the Q&A. So yeah, overall I feel like the 2026 to 2027 change is better for you guys because before the culture presentation is known for killing your score. Now I feel like it's much more comprehensible and doable as long as you are preparing well. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Bye.